Today, Matt Walsh Show, a leftist terrorist experiences some repercussions for her actions for the first time in her life, and she's shocked and appalled. A refugee from Iraq complains that he'll have to go home if he can't find food stamps. Sounds like a good deal to me. And JD Vance debates college students live on camera, something that no vice president, especially the last one, would have ever done. We'll talk about all that and more today on the Matt Walsh Show. Do you remember the great ammo shortage of 2020? Shelves were bare and even online options were wiped out. Well, there's a company making sure that never happens again. It's called Ammo Squared, and they've been helping over 100,000 members stockpile ammo automatically since 2015. Here's how it works. You sign up, pick your ammo from over 70 different calibers, set an auto-buy budget, and choose a shipping frequency or just let it grow over time. Your ammo accumulates and is stored for free in Ammo Squared's climate-controlled facilities in Texas and Idaho until you're ready to ship. No minimum, no extra fees. It's perfect for small budgets or anyone who wants to build up a stockpile without spending thousands or hundreds of dollars up front. I'm in the process of setting up an account right now, and it's been so simple and straightforward. Plus, they've got so many different ammunitions to choose from for my needs that practically negates ever needing to visit a store, which of course may or may not have what I need in stock. Everything is right there waiting for me when I need it. It's the easiest way to stay prepared without the hassle. Head to ammosquared.com. Take the work out of buying ammo. 100,000 members and thousands of 5-star reviews. Can't be wrong. That's ammosquared.com. Check them out today for a special offer. For several months now, as leftists have rioted all over the U.S. in the name of open borders, the pro-civilization side, which we have to remind ourselves remains a majority in this country, albeit a slim one, has been asking a very simple question. And that question is this: when exactly are these terrorists going to be arrested and thrown in prison, which is what you do with terrorists? These people are committing crimes on camera. They're not even attempting to hide their identity. They're openly bragging about the fact that they're attacking and impeding federal law enforcement officials. We've seen video after video in places like Portland and Los Angeles and Chicago. These are far worse crimes than the January 6th defendants were charged with. And those defendants were forced to spend several months in solitary confinement. They had their lives destroyed in many cases. Grandmothers with terminal cancer were imprisoned. Meanwhile, when it comes to these anti-ICE riots, there haven't been any consequences really to speak of. Simply put, different rules apply to leftists. That's been the norm for many years, of course. It was true during the first Trump administration as BLM rioters destroyed entire neighborhoods with impunity. And it's been true for most of this year as well. It's maybe the single most important responsibility of the current Trump administration to end this double standard. Because if they don't, then the violence is just going to escalate. It's emboldened. If we don't have the rule of law, then leftists will continue to hunt law enforcement as well as conservatives in the streets. They will kill us and celebrate our deaths. That's why I've been beating this drum for so long. It's a legitimate crisis that needs to be addressed. Well, the good news, which we've been waiting for, is that the Trump administration now appears to realize the importance of cracking down on these terrorists, and they're commencing that crackdown to the shock of leftist terrorists. The other day, a Democrat congressional candidate named Kat Abugazala was indicted in a federal district court in Illinois for assaulting, resisting, and impeding a federal law enforcement officer in the performance of his duties. Kat Abugazala, whose name I'm nervous to pronounce because it sounds like I'm summoning an ancient demon from the netherworld, was indicted along with two other Democrats, County Board candidate Kat Sharp and Democrat committeeman Michael Rabbitt. But all of these names sound completely made up. Michael Rabbitt. But I think these are real people. But Kat Abugazala is the defendant that I want to focus on for a couple of reasons. The biggest reason is that Kat Abugazala, in a somewhat unusual move for a criminal defendant, actually uploaded the footage of her crimes to the internet. Here's what she uploaded to X in late September. Watch.
Up with liberation! Down with deportation! Up with liberation!
Up with liberation!
Down with deportation!
Down with deportation!
Up with liberation!
As a caption for this video, Katabu Ghazala wrote, quote, "At the Broadview ICE facility, an ICE agent tried to run dozens of protesters over with an SUV as we walked in the public crosswalk. He kept driving for about a full football field until ICE barraged us with pepper balls." Now, the problem with this description, of course, is that she uploaded the footage that proves she's lying. And in case you're listening to the audio podcast, the footage shows that she's standing in front of a federal SUV that's trying to gain access to the ICE facility. It's part of a large and rowdy crowd. They're not walking. Okay, they're not using the crosswalk. They're looking directly at the driver of the federal SUV. They're punching and scratching the car. They actually broke its windshield wiper off at one point. And they're trying to stop it from moving. It's very apparent that they wanted to disrupt ICE agents from doing their jobs, obviously, and they're succeeding. And the SUV isn't running anyone over, nor is it trying to run anybody over. It's doing the exact opposite. It's going 1 mile per hour trying to get to safety in the federal facility. It's actually going more out of its way than it probably should to avoid harming any of these people. I mean, they would actually be fully justified in just continuing to move, step on the gas pedal and move forward, because when you've got a crowd of people, an angry mob surrounding your car, you're in a life-threatening situation and you have every right, morally and legally, to just get out of that situation by whatever means necessary. But this car didn't do that, is the point. They were being very polite. The person in the car was actually putting their own life on the line to make sure that no harm came to these people that wished them harm. And by the way, this isn't the only footage showing Kat committing a crime at one of these ICE facilities. In the footage, she runs in front of a federal SUV. In this other footage, forcing a federal agent to remove her. Watch. So you see she gets thrown down at the end there. It's kind of footage that might put a smile on your face. Not on mine. I mean, if you're a very cruel person, that footage might make you smile. I'm not saying it did for me, because I never smile at anything, as we all know. But again, it's an open and shut crime. Kat should have been arrested on the spot back in September. She also should have been disavowed by the Democrat Party. You actually don't have the legal right to do that. You're not allowed to stand in front of a law enforcement vehicle and say, "No, you're not allowed to move." You can't, you're not allowed, that's against the law. You actually can't do that. But of course, she was not disowned by the Democrat Party. In fact, she's been endorsed by Ro Khanna, one of the most powerful Democrats in Congress. He's the supposedly reasonable Democrat from California, but he's endorsed a communist who's happy to commit multiple federal crimes on camera. And he's maintained that endorsement, even though Kat is obviously committing these crimes on purpose so that she can raise her profile in the race. That's why she's lying about what she did. It's why she posted the videos. That's why she's currently trying to fundraise off of this indictment. Watch.
My name is Katabu Ghazala. I'm running for Congress in the 9th District of Illinois, and the Department of Justice is charging 6 people, including myself, with federal crimes for exercising our First Amendment rights near ICE's Broadview Processing Center. This is a political prosecution and a gross attempt to silence dissent, a right protected under the First Amendment. This case is a major push by the Trump administration to criminalize protest and punish anyone who speaks out against them. That's why I'm going to fight these unjust charges.
Now, you almost have to admire the sheer unadulterated shamelessness of the left at this point. They will film themselves committing crimes on camera right out on the street in front of everybody, upload that footage to the internet, and caption it saying, "Hey, everybody, look at these great crimes I'm committing. Look at me committing crimes. Isn't it great?" And they'll pretend to be stunned when they're prosecuted. Of course, she knows she's guilty. That's why she doesn't show any of the footage of her crimes in that video. But it doesn't matter. I think she's probably going to become more popular among Democrats because she attacks federal agents on camera and then posts the footage online. To be clear, when Democrats went after Donald Trump in every single case, they attempted to use a completely novel, incoherent interpretation of the law. They were obviously political prosecutions because they were making up the law as they went. For the business records case in New York, Democrats created a Frankenstein theory where jurors didn't even have to decide what felony Trump had supposedly committed 10 years earlier: tax evasion, campaign finance violations, business record violations. Just anything is what the prosecutor said. Just convict him on anything at all. What you choose. It's like a choose your own endings book. Nothing like that had ever been tried before in the state. For the classified documents case, of course, Democrats had to ignore the fact that Joe Biden had committed the exact same fake crime, except in Joe Biden's case, he didn't have any legal authority to declassify anything. And for the January 6th case, Democrats tried to argue that Trump had committed an insurrection by telling his supporters to fight for their beliefs, which is boilerplate political rhetoric that every Democrat uses, and they use it in much more aggressive terms. And in the Fulton County, Georgia case, as we all remember, the prosecutors they were the ones who turned out to be the actual criminals. All of these cases fell apart because they were political prosecutions of fake crimes. By contrast, Kat is being charged with a crime that's extremely clear and well established. Prosecuting someone for intentionally blocking a federal officer from getting to work on camera is not a novel application of law. It's not a cooked up, trumped up charge. It's standard. Anybody with an IQ north of 50 understands that. This is the point where we need to talk about Kat Abu-Ghazaleh's background. In case it's not obvious from that video, she's an extremely comically dull and useless woman. Her only real job prior to running for Congress was watching Fox News all day. She would watch Fox News and then make dumb videos for TikTok where she would misrepresent everything she could. Here's a sample of her work product, which we'll make as mercifully short as we possibly can. This is from back in 2023 when her job was to justify the prosecution of Donald Trump. Watch.
Fox News kind of melted down after last night's indictment. Their argument essentially boiled down to, well, Trump didn't commit a crime, he just simply committed a crime. But luckily, Fox brought on experts to explain this groundbreaking new legal theory. And the actual legal experts at Fox News said basically the same stuff. GW law professor Jonathan Turley's best defense of Trump was just restating the entire problem.
President Trump at the time said you only need to find around 11,000 votes. And that has been taken as an invitation for fraud.
And Greg Jarrett managed to say the same thing, but somehow worse.
It's not defrauding the government if you believe you're acting lawfully. It's not a crime to complain.
So that was her whole shtick, and with her sriracha sweater on. Her sweater was a shirt that said sriracha hot sauce, which I like sriracha too. I like it as much as the next guy. Wait, what? Wait, why do you like it that much? I can't imagine liking a condiment that much that I would wear the shirt. I mean, if I was at a store and I saw that sriracha had merch, I would think, like, who's buying the merch for a condiment brand? Apparently, Kat Abu-Ghazaleh is. So maybe she's got it all. She's got the hot sauce shirt. She's got the mayo shirt. She's got a shirt that just says, brown mustard across the front of it. Anyway, what's the point? Well, she doesn't have the intelligence to actually respond to anybody's argument. So what she does is she clips their arguments down to 3-second sound bites without any context whatsoever. And then she attacks those sound bites as if that's what the person's whole argument was, which is, standard tactic on the internet these days. The remarkable thing is that Kat Abu-Ghazaleh was making useless videos like this from Washington, D.C. until she moved to Illinois in the summer of last year. In fact, according to her Wikipedia page, she voted in the last election from Washington, D.C. And now a year later, she's running for Congress in the state of Illinois. So here we have a very low IQ woman, a criminal with no meaningful work experience, isn't even from Illinois. And right now she's running for Congress in Illinois. And she might win. The latest polls show that she's within 5% of winning the primary in a very safe, reliably Democrat district, which takes place early next year. And prominent Democrats are standing by her, which tells you, once again, the state of the Democrat Party at every level. They don't have ideas. They're not honest. And they are terrorists. They film themselves committing crimes, for politically motivated crimes. And they want you dead. So the appropriate response here, which the Trump administration is pursuing, is to put this woman on trial, convict her, and send her to prison. It's not a political prosecution. It's a righteous prosecution. The evidence of her crimes is available online. Use it. And yes, send her to prison. I don't want to hear I don't want to hear any conservatives say, well, all she did was stand in front of a car. We're going to send her to prison for years. Yeah, that's exactly what we should do. Absolutely. Throw the entire book at her, just give her the maximum sentence you possibly can under the law. You're going to ruin her life because she stood in front of it? Yeah, actually, yeah, that's exactly what we should do. Ruin her life. She ruined her own life. And that's what they would do to you. And that's what they have been doing. So are you going to let them play by those rules? Are we going to let them, are we going to play by rules where they're going to do everything they can to ruin our lives, but we're going to be nice in return and not do that to them? Just like just laying down and volunteering to be stomped? Is that the plan? For some conservatives, it is. For some conservatives, the plan is just, lay down on the ground, let them stomp you. I wouldn't want to stop them. I mean, that'd be rude. But we can't stop with her. Round up every other leftist who's impeding ICE officers in the performance of their duties and also have them face the same penalties. Fortunately, again, that appears to be happening. This week in Chicago, a woman named Angelica Figueroa was tailgating ICE agents and broadcasting their locations on social media. And she did so, she was told numerous times that she was, as she did so rather, she was told numerous times that she was interfering with an ongoing investigation, which is a federal crime. Officers pulled up next to her, told her to stop chasing them through the streets and running red lights in the process. Again, you're not allowed to do that. But she persisted, and so they arrested her. Watch.
They might stop me. They're probably stopping me. What do you want?
What's the problem?
What's your problem?
I'm giving you a warning.
I have the right.
I'm giving you a warning.
I have the right to follow. I do have the right.
investigation.
There is a white pickup border patrol truck behind me, a Ford Explorer. They're getting off. He's backing up into me. He's backing up into me. Why are you backing up into me? It is not illegal. It's not illegal. No, it's not illegal. It's not illegal. It's not illegal. It's not illegal. It's illegal. Me están arrestando 16th and Euclid. Let me park it.
Under arrest for impeding.
It's not illegal. What's your badge number?
It's not illegal. It's not illegal. It's not illegal. So I could never be a cop. I could never be in any kind of law enforcement. I don't have the temperament for it. I couldn't do it. I do not have the temperament for it. These people, they're so, every video like this you watch, it's like they get, the person who's getting arrested and deserves to be arrested, they get like stuck on this one phrase they just repeat over and over and over again, which is a very low IQ thing, by the way. It's an indication of extremely low IQ. But there's always one phrase. It's not illegal. It's not illegal. It's not illegal. It's not illegal. As if you just chant that enough times, that'll be enough to, if you commit a crime and you chant it's not illegal 26 times, then it won't be illegal anymore. But it's got to be exactly 26, because if you do 24, you're still getting arrested. Once you get to 26, then the cops will say, okay, she said it 26 times. That's enough. But, the thing is actually you can't just harass people around like this. You can't follow law enforcement. You can't tail them and follow them through red lights. It's actually not legal. If you get in your car and chase a particular person around all day, following them closely on the street, getting in their personal space, whether they're law enforcement or not, photographing them on foot, posting their real-time location, refusing to back off when they tell you to go away, etc., you are stalking them. And if it goes on long enough, then you're putting them in a reasonable fear for their safety, and that's a crime. And it's even worse when you're stalking law enforcement and giving away the location of their vehicles, including undercover vehicles. That is definitely not legal. This woman thought ICE would never actually arrest her for doing this, but obviously she was mistaken. The Trump administration has decided to fight back against these terrorists because they know that if they don't, then the state and local governments will let them off the hook. Doesn't matter if they commit their crimes on camera or not. Consider this recent case out of New York where a woman named Sahara Abdullah deliberately ran over a police officer. Watch this.
Be careful.
So it's all on video, and she runs him over, actually runs him over. And on top of that, she confessed to it. So here's what she told investigators, quote, "I told the cop I wanted to go straight and he wouldn't move, so I hit him. I did it on purpose. F these cops, he wouldn't move. F these cops. It's a lesson to him, and hopefully he doesn't want to be a cop anymore." So it could not be more clear. Yes, I hit him. I hit him on purpose. I did it on purpose. F him. That's what she said. So for this attempted murder, which is completely unequivocally proven beyond any doubt, and for which she has shown no remorse whatsoever, Sahara just received a sentence of, can you guess before I say it? Go ahead and guess. This is a fun thing to do at home. What do you think her sentence was for what you just witnessed? Ran over a cop on purpose, tried to kill him, and admitted to it. What do you think she got? 2 years in prison. 2 years for attempting to murder a police officer in the middle of the street on camera. Now, that sentence was issued by Manhattan Supreme Court Judge Melissa T. Lewis, of course, a female judge. It almost always is. Liberal female judges are probably the most dangerous people in the entire country at this point. I mean, they are responsible for more death and destruction than anyone else. And this is the same judge, speaking of which, who 2 years ago let a 31-year-old black man named Lenyu Moore out of prison on $5,000 bond after he forced his way into a 57-year-old white woman's apartment. And once he entered the woman's apartment, Moore broke her arm and severely beat her boyfriend with a hammer, all because he didn't like the sound of the woman's dog barking. Okay? So yes, the bond was set at $5,000 for a violent home invasion motivated by a noise complaint, which means that the man only had to pay $500 to get out of prison, since criminals only need to pay 10% of the bail money in cash. So, $500, he's out of prison after breaking into somebody's home, beating them with a hammer. Well, 5 months later, what do you know? The man paid the $500, got out of jail, and immediately ambushed the woman while she was out walking her dog in the evening. And he shot her to death, along with her friend and the dog. And this is the same judge who allowed that. This is the judge who somehow herself is not in prison right now. That judge should be in prison right now herself. But she's not. She's still on the bench, and she gets to hand out lenient sentences to more people. And this woman who she just sentenced to 2 years, she's going to get out and she's going to go kill someone, probably a cop. And the judge will just keep doing it. And these are monstrous people. So this is how the justice system works in left-wing cities. And for several years under Joe Biden, it's how the federal system worked as well. The problem for these violent criminals is that when the federal government steps in and actually enforces the law, then the party's over. They have no idea how to react. That's exactly what we're seeing now in the context of immigration law. So in response to the Trump administration's new approach, the terrorists are becoming more desperate. They're panicking. They're becoming less and less effective at the same time. Recently, for example, a foreign-born federal judge named Sarah Ellis, whose parents are from Jamaica, ruled that the commander of the Border Patrol, Gregory Bovino, had to appear in her courtroom every single day. And again, it's a clear attempt at obstruction, no different effectively than what every other leftist terrorist is doing. The point was to harass Gregory Bovino so that he couldn't perform his duties. And that's why very quickly the order was shut down by the appellate court. Watch.
This breaking news just into our newsroom. A federal appeals court has granted a request by the Department of Justice to temporarily block a judge's order requiring Border Patrol Commander Greg Bovino to meet with her today. The judge wants Bovino to update her every day about immigration enforcement operations, specifically any incidents involving protesters. That first meeting was supposed to take place at 5:45 tonight.
Now, during the entire 4 years of the Biden administration, did anything like this ever happen the other way? Did a single conservative judge anywhere in the country order that Merrick Garland had to show up in this courtroom every day to explain himself? Of course not. This kind of thing only goes one way. Only the left fights like this. And until now, they've had no resistance whatsoever. They must be shocked that all of a sudden they're losing. And in response, they're grasping at straws to maintain a narrative. NBC News, for example, just ran this headline. It says, quote, federal agents arrest undocumented father at home in San Jose, family says. Well, that's heartbreaking. I mean, not really, but I guess we're supposed to be heartbroken by it. But what NBC doesn't tell you in the headline is that the undocumented father, which already this is no tragedy because undocumented is an illegal alien. So already there's really no headline here that we should see. But what they don't mention is that the undocumented father is a pedophile named Gerardo Rojas Leva, who has a rap sheet including lewd acts with a child and battery of a spouse. So one of the largest news networks in the country is promoting a pedophile as part of their campaign to demonize ICE and encourage attacks on law enforcement. And also, what the left is telling us is that even though this person is an illegal alien, doesn't belong here, and a pedophile, we should keep them in the country. That it is a tragedy to remove a pedophile illegal alien from the country. That's what the left believes. There really is no way to debate or reason with people like this. Their arguments are indistinguishable from full-blown psychosis. And the big problem with psychotic people is that as they become increasingly detached from reality, they become a much greater risk to everybody around them. They become a massive public safety threat. That's what the Democrat Party represents. That's what they're embracing. That's why every single one of these terrorists must be imprisoned. At the moment, it looks like the Trump administration finally understands exactly what they're dealing with. And with these indictments, they're proceeding as they should, by following the law as fairly, but also as ruthlessly as they possibly can. Now let's get to our 5 headlines. Every day we're bombarded by terrible news and graphic violence, but with everything going on in the world, we can easily forget that these stories do have a happy ending. Evil has already lost. This month, join Hallow as they partner with Word on Fire to bring you the story of all stories, guided by Jonathan Rumi. Experience the Bible like never before and hear it as a story about real people who experience real devastation and then who have real hope in Jesus Christ. Each episode is designed to help you hear, imagine, and pray through God's Word from the Garden of Eden to the glory of the resurrection. Then join Jim Caviezel and Father John Riccardo for a prayer series on one of C.S. Lewis's most famous books, The Screwtape Letters. Throughout this challenge, learn to guard yourself against spiritual warfare and protect against the small compromises, self-deceptions, and distractions that lead us to damnation. Download Hallow for 3 months free at hallow.com/Matt Walsh. Fall's a great time of year with the trees changing and bold colors all around, making sure that everything looks sharp and rugged. Autumn leaves look nice until they end up clogging your gutters, causing headaches and potential damage. With Leaf Filter, America's top gutter protection company, you can enjoy the season without worrying about cleaning them out ever again. Right now, you can schedule a free inspection and estimate, plus save up to 30% on your entire purchase at leaffilter.com/Walsh. Look, you could keep messing around with all those cheap DIY fixes from the hardware store, but let's be honest, how many times do you really want to climb a ladder and scoop out gunk with your bare hands? Leaf Filter is the permanent solution built with patented technology that only lets water through, no gaps, no holes, no excuses. Every installation comes with a lifetime no clog guarantee. So it's once it's on, you're done. And here's the kicker. A Leaf Filter Pro doesn't just slap it on and leave. They'll actually clean, realign, and seal your gutters so everything works the way it's supposed to. Over 1 million homeowners already trust it, probably because they're tired of wasting Saturdays cleaning out gutters. Don't spend the season worrying about gutters. Schedule your free inspection and get up to 30% off your entire purchase at leaffilter.com/Walsh. That's LEAF filter.com/Walsh. That's a free inspection, free estimate, and 30% off at leaffilter.com/Walsh. See representative for warranty details. All right, let's check in on the fish cam. It's been a little bit. We haven't seen the fish in a while. Is he even still back there? Pull up the fit. There we go. Let's just take a moment. Let's take a moment with the fish and the fish cam. You know, there are people still trying to claim to me that that's not a largemouth bass. Can you believe it? Like, I don't know my own fish. My own fish that I carved with my own hands. Not my own hands, but someone carved it and gave it to me, so it's kind of the same thing. But you think I don't... What, if that's not a largemouth bass, what is it? Don't just come to me with your comments saying, oh, it's not a largemouth bass. Tell me what fish species you think it is. What is it, a bluegill? A carp? What do you think, it's a catfish? What is it, a piranha? No, that's a largemouth bass and a beautiful one. I would be honored to catch a bass that looked like that one. Okay, that's enough. All right. You know, this week we've talked about the EBT scam, and I've been encouraged to see that there's a lot of interest in the topic because I've been complaining about the EBT program for literally my whole career, going back to the blog days and even before that, I've been complaining about the food stamp program and what a scam it is. And this is the first time in all those years when my complaints about EBT seem to actually be resonating with a large portion of the audience. So, this should be inspiring to everybody out there. If you complain about something and nobody cares, just keep complaining. Keep on complaining. Never stop whining, because eventually you'll wear them down and they'll start to care. But of course, it's not really my complaints that wore people down. It's just the fact that people are sick to death of this nonsense, really. And it's that, as we've talked about, through the government shutdown, accidentally, the system has revealed just how bad the scam really is, and people are sick of it. They're sick of things like this. Here's a report out of Tucson, and just listen to this.
Inside the public hearing room here behind me, some refugees told the Pima County Board of Supervisors today they're worried these changes will take away or put up some serious roadblocks for these benefits, and that losing them will put their families at risk.
We believe that there are thousands of Pima County residents who are about to be confronted with an abrupt food insecurity situation starting next month through no fault of their own, many of whom are children.
Aaron Rippin Kroger is director of the International Rescue Committee Arizona. He joined a group of refugees Tuesday to call on the Pima County Board of Supervisors for help. Come November 1st, the big beautiful bill will go into effect, forcing new requirements for SNAP benefits, including more stringent proof of work provisions for anyone under 65. According to the U.S. Department of Agriculture, there will be changes to non-citizen benefits, but says, quote, more guidance on those impacts is forthcoming, end quote. The unknown has refugees like Bakar Rahab from Iraq worried. He arrived to Pima County just last December with his wife and 2 children.
Without the government support, I cannot stay maybe a month or 2 months.
Oh no, well, he can't stay unless we feed him. That's terrible. Well, I can think of a solution to that. Bakar Rahab, I can think of a solution. There's a solution to that problem, which is that you can leave. You can do that. Now, I know we've covered this very thoroughly, so I probably don't need to repeat myself, but I will say anyway that we should not have non-citizens on any form of welfare at all. We should not be forcing our citizens to feed foreigners who aren't even citizens of the country. That you want to talk about reforming the system, that's the most basic level of reform. And I've argued this week and for years that the vast majority of EBT recipients don't really need it, that they're not going to starve to death without it, and that a large number of them are lazy. Like they don't want to put the work in, and they'd rather live off the system. That is not everybody. Of course, I've always got all these comments from, well, I know someone that's not true of everyone. It's like, yeah, I said it was not true of everyone. You don't need to leave a comment. But I say, this isn't true of everyone, but it's true of a lot of people. You don't need to leave a comment saying, yeah, but that's not true of everyone. I said that. I actually said that. I don't need to know about the anecdote of the person who really needs it. I get it. I understand that. But there are a lot of people for whom that is not the case. And that's what we're talking about. So anyway, but as I've talked about that, well, a lot of people don't need it. Well, when it comes to the non-Americans on EBT, they don't need it is irrelevant. I don't care if they need it or not. Maybe some of them do need it. Maybe some of them would starve without it. Well, you know what I would say even to them? And this is going to get clipped. This is be very cruel. It's going to sound very cruel. But if there's a non-citizen here who would starve without EBT, I would still say we should not give it to them. Because you're not supposed to be here. So go back home. If you can't make it in this country, and feed yourself, if you can't even do the basics of feeding yourself in this country, you're not even supposed to be here in the first place, then leave. I don't want you to starve to death. I don't want anyone to starve to death. Go home. Go home. Go back to your home. This is not your home. And if you can't figure out how to live here enough to even feed yourself, then it's clearly not working. So go home. And I wish you well. I wish you well in your home. I do. I want you to live long and healthy and eat all the food you want. I truly do. But not here. This is not your home. Go back to where you came from. It should not need to be said that it is not the responsibility of the American taxpayer to feed the entire world. And at a time when so many Americans can't afford groceries, everything is so expensive, people are struggling to get by, the idea that we are importing foreigners to be taken care of, to be cared for, to be fed and sheltered and clothed like helpless infants is just infuriating. And it's even worse when you consider, like you heard from that guy, oh, he got here last December. So he didn't even try. He didn't even try to make it here. It's not even like we're talking about an immigrant who came here and really, really tried, and 10 years into it, everything's falling apart. It's not working out. And even then, I still wouldn't want EBT. But it's like you didn't try. You just got here and were immediately on welfare. You didn't even attempt to make it. And that should just not be. I mean, it is infuriating. And I know I've made this point a million times, but it bears repeating a million times that this is why there's no comparison between historical immigration to America, the immigrants of a century ago or 2 centuries ago, or the people who came here before America was founded. There's no comparison between them and the immigrants of today. There's just no comparison. It's a completely different thing. We should have different words for it. In fact, we do, because an immigrant 200 years ago was a settler, and he came here to a country that was not yet fully formed, not yet fully built, and he helped to build it. He came here to live off the land, to live off of his own industriousness and ingenuity, and to contribute to the country in that way. So, for example, the left likes to bring this kind of thing up all the time. You know, like out on the American frontier in the early 19th century, there were a lot of Scottish immigrants, right? And so if you have Scottish ancestry and you live in this country, someone on the left today will say, oh yeah, well, your ancestors were immigrants too. Who are you to judge immigrants today? Yeah, they were immigrants on the frontier, you moron. Okay? They were immigrants on the frontier. They were not immigrants in Tucson, Arizona in the year 2025. Okay? They were immigrants on the frontier. They were living in the wilderness. They cleared the trees and tilled the land and built the cabins by hand and provided food and shelter to themselves and water. And they guarded against attacks by Indians and bandits, and they faced starvation and exposure and freezing to death and disease. They had large families. Like 5 of their children died before they reached the age of 4. Okay? They were living, they made a life for themselves with just sheer determination and blood and sweat. And they did all this without any food stamps, without welfare. The Scottish immigrants that came here in the year 1823 were not showing up and say, okay, where's my food stamps? I need food stamps. Give me a house. Give me some clothes. That's not what was happening. They came to a land that was not settled, that was not civilized entirely yet, and they helped to civilize it. They became Americans through their own sweat and blood. Immigrants today don't do that, or anything remotely like it. They often do the opposite. They come to a place where everything is already set up, everything is already built, all the work was done without you, and they live off of us. They come here to be taken care of and to be provided for. And that is an entirely different thing, obviously. All right, JD Vance is taking some flack today for a variety of reasons. He's always taking flack, but he's also taking flack because of this clip of an interview with, I believe, the New York Post. Watch.
Who's out of a house is actually evicted from the house because there are people who are going to pay more for rent. And then what happens is 20 people move into a 3-bedroom house, 20 people from a totally different culture, totally different ways of interacting. again, we can respect their dignity while also being angry at the Biden administration for letting that situation happen and recognizing that their next door neighbors are going to say, well, wait a second. What is going on here? I don't know these people. They don't speak the same language that I do. And because there are 20 in the house next door, it's a little bit rowdier than it was when there was just a family of 4, a family of 5. It is totally reasonable and acceptable for American citizens to look at their next door neighbors and say, I want to live next to people who I have something in common with. I don't want to live next to 4 families of strangers.
Actually, that's the Pod Force One with Miranda Devine podcast, is where that interview is happening. I guess people are upset because he said it's reasonable to want to live next to people who speak English. That's the thing that's supposed to be controversial. I want to live next to people that I can communicate with. How dare you? What, you want to be able to understand what your neighbors are saying to you? Well, you xenophobic bigot. You have a basic desire to be able to communicate with people in your own community. I've never heard something so offensive. But no, we want to be around people who are like us. We want to have people or be around people who we have some commonality with, who we can communicate with. And that should be very non-controversial. You want to be able to communicate with your neighbors. You want to have an actual community. And community is impossible if you can't communicate. Communicate. Commune is right there in the root word, right? It's not a coincidence. You can't have one without the other. Is that xenophobic? Well, you can call it whatever you want. I really don't care. So if somebody wants to say it's xenophobic, my answer is, okay, fine. And that should be all of our answer anytime someone throws a label like bigot, racist, it doesn't matter. The only answer that you should give is, whatever, fine. If that's what you want to say, go ahead. And I think, and the right is picking up on this finally. This is something that the right is picking up on. And you look at the effect it's had. It's completely neutralized the attack. I mean, for years and years and years, the left would go, you're racist, you're a bigot. And on the right, we would say, no, we're not. That's ridiculous. That is not true. Let me prove to you why it's not true. No, you're the racist one. You're the bigoted one. That was the response. It's a very defensive response for many years. And all it did was encourage more of it. And now finally, when they accuse us of that, and finally when we kind of shrug our shoulders and say, whatever. Are you admitting? Well, whatever you want to think. Whatever you think. You can think whatever you want about me. I really don't care. I don't care that you think that about me. Right? Like, that's the answer. You're a racist. Okay, well, I don't care that you think that. And you look at how much that has neutralized the attack. It's a completely impotent attack. It doesn't mean anything anymore because of that. So xenophobic, it's like, I don't care. You can call it whatever you want. But also, just for the record, in reality, factually, no, it's not xenophobic. Xenophobic means fear, and this is not fear. In fact, xenophobic literally means fear of the stranger, xeno from the Greek for stranger. But that's not what this is. This is not fear of a stranger. It's love of your countrymen. It's a desire to be around people you share a common language with, a common history with. It's natural. It's human. It's not even just human. I mean, this is an inclination shared by most species on Earth to some extent. It is embedded in nature. And you want to be around people who are like you. And the left, of course, will allow that for people, for most people. The left will allow that and even encourage it for, in fact, every kind of person on Earth except white Americans. They're the only ones. White Americans are the only humans on Earth who are not allowed to have any inclination at all towards being around people who are like them. The only group that's not allowed to have that inclination. And that, of course, is absurd. Speaking of JD Vance, he did a, I also wanted to talk about this because he did a TPUSA event yesterday. And when I heard that he was speaking at TPUSA, I'll be honest, I assumed that he would not be doing the other part because the TPUSA event, of course, it's you give a speech and then you take questions from the audience. That's usually how it would go. That's what Charlie would do. And I heard he was speaking, and I figured that he would not do that part. He wouldn't do the second part of taking questions. And I assume that because what kind of politician, let alone the vice president of the United States, would actually stand there on stage on a live stream and allow a whole line of college students or anyone else to come up to the microphone, ask whatever they want to ask for an entire hour, and you have no control over what they're going to say? No politician would do that, and no vice president would ever do that. And so I assumed that they wouldn't, but that's exactly what Vance did, and he deserves a lot of credit for that. I mean, I don't think people appreciate enough, because I saw these clips circulating of him talking to various people in the audience during the Q&A portion. And I don't think people appreciate enough just how radical this is. I mean, this is radical transparency and openness for a politician, especially a politician at that level. I mean, most of your average just run-of-the-mill congressmen would never do this, ever. Okay, they would never put themselves in this kind of position. But a vice president? Like, has any vice president ever done anything like this exactly? I'm not saying that the vice presidents have done town halls and that sort of thing, but those are much more controlled. This is not controlled at all. And so it's pretty high risk. And this stuff is not easy. It's not as easy as it may look sometimes. It's not as easy as it looks when you see a person who's really good at it do it, right? Because it's not. I mean, I've done it plenty of times myself. I have a lot less on the line because I'm not the vice president. But you've got a whole line of people. You're live on camera. And so you have absolutely no control over what they're going to say. And you know that some of the people in that line are only there because they want to embarrass you. So plenty of people who are fans or supporters that are going to ask nice, interesting, thoughtful questions, and that's great. But there are some people in that line that they have one intention, and that is to embarrass you. And the dynamics are skewed because they've really got nothing to lose, and you've got much more to lose than they do in this back and forth. So it's high stakes. It is a pretty high stakes thing. And I think Vance deserves a lot of credit for doing it. I think he did very well. I thought he was great. Here's one moment that I wanted to play. Here's a woman accusing Vance of putting policies in place that hurt immigrants. Let's listen.
You are pushing out policies that hurt us, and these policies are not even solving the problems. These policies are just creating chaos.
Ma'am. Okay, so again, I'm gonna finish answering the question, and then if I've answered all 9 of your questions in less than 15 minutes, then we can keep on going. We got to have a little fun, right? So here's the thing. I can believe that the United States should lower its levels of immigration in the future, while also respecting that there are people who have come here through lawful immigration pathways that have contributed to the country. But just because one person or 10 people or 100 people came in legally and contributed to the United States of America, does that mean that we're thereby committed to let in 1 million or 10 million or 100 million people a year in the future? No, that's not right. We cannot have, I'll go and finish, we cannot have an immigration policy where what was good for the country 50 or 60 years ago binds the country inevitably for the future. There's too many people who want to come to the United States of America, and my job as vice president is not to look out for the interests of the whole world, it's to look out for the people of the United States.
So there you go. My job as vice president is not to look out for the interests of the world, it's to look out for people in the United States. Very well said, again. And I've already said it, but the vice president debating college students live on camera is pretty remarkable. And he's exactly right. He's exactly right. And this is the kind of statement that shouldn't even need to be made by a politician. It certainly should not be a provocative or controversial position, but it is, which shows you the state we're in. But of course, and that's the whole point about immigration. This is why I've said all along about illegal immigration that, yeah, I want to shut it down completely. I want to deport all the illegals. I also want to shut down all immigration for a time. But it's not anything personal against the illegal immigrants. It's personal against them if when they're bad people and they're criminals that are coming here, which many of them are. I mean, they're all criminals because they broke the law, but when they're, when we're talking about drug dealers and so on that are coming, it's a little more personal. But in general, it's not like a personal. I get why you came. I would do this. I'd probably do the same thing. If I was in Mexico, I don't want to live in Mexico. And if I thought I could get away with just going into entering America illegally, and I can just skip all the paperwork and all that kind of stuff, I could just come right away and I could bring my family, I'd probably do it. Because I don't care about the laws of America. I'm not American. That's the point. So I get it. I understand why you do it. But you got to go. You still have to go. We still got to round you up and kick you out because this is America, and our priority is America and Americans, and it's just that simple. There's one other clip. I think there was one other clip I wanted to play. Another interesting moment from this back and forth. Like I said, this went on for a while, but let's play this one.
For the school system, do you agree that there should be Christian implementation, or do you think that school system should be neutral and be focused on science, literature, reading, writing, arithmetic?
Well, I reject the idea that anything is purely neutral. Okay, there are, for example, let's take a basic scientific fact, and this is a little spicy. I'm not trying to make this too controversial, but take the basic scientific fact of, can you take a pill to change your biological gender? Okay? Now that's something that 15 years ago, quite literally, every single scientist in the Western world would have said, absolutely not, that's crazy, and now people will. I think the premise of your question, I don't totally share it because I don't think perfect neutrality is possible. What is it? You talk about history. Was Christopher Columbus a great explorer, or was he a guy who committed genocide against the native populations? These debates, I'm happy to have them, but I reject the idea that there are truly neutral debates. Anybody who's telling you their view is neutral likely has an agenda to sell you, and I'm at least honest about the fact that I think the Christian foundation of this country is a good thing.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point. Not a lot to add to it, but I think that this is, for so long we've heard even conservatives have been complaining. Well, only conservatives have been complaining about the fact that the education in the public school system is biased, that it's indoctrinating, and so we need an unbiased education. We need education, not indoctrination. And that's always been a false premise because, as JD Vance points out, an unbiased education is impossible. Unless you're being educated by a robot, and even then, it's still impossible because somebody programmed that robot, and so you got the biases of the program, or whoever made the robot. And if your teacher is a person, then they have their own perspective, they have their own bias, they have their own point of view, they have their own worldview, their own value system. And all of that is going to be in the education they provide to you. There is no way around it. It's impossible. Impossible. So our point is not that we want an education that doesn't have a worldview attached. We want an education that doesn't have the wrong worldview, a bad worldview, a degenerate and destructive worldview. That's what we're looking for. Which is why I'm such an advocate for homeschooling. Or if you can find a good Christian private school, and they're not all good. By far, they're not all good. And it's the same, and so it's the same thing with indoctrination. Education, not indoctrination. No, it's both. Actually, is what we want. You are indoctrinating a child. It's just we don't want them to indoctrinate. We don't want them to be indoctrinated wrongly into the wrong way of thinking. But indoctrination, that just means you're instilling a worldview. You're instilling a value system. And obviously you want to do that with your kids. To try to be objective or neutral about that would be insane. To say to your kid, well, I'm not going to tell you what you should value. I want you to figure it out all on your own. All you're doing there is you're sending them into the arms of somebody else who will gladly step in and say, okay, well, if your parents don't want to do that, so I will gladly guide you towards the value system that I want you to have. So all of that stuff is part of education. It can never not be a part of it. And we have to accept that and adopt that into the way we educate our children. That's why I'm such an advocate for homeschooling. All right, let's get to the comment section.
If you're a man, it's required that you grow a beard. Hey, we're the sweet baby gang.
Drowning in credit card and loan debt. Well, you're not alone, but here's something most people don't know. Fall is actually the best time to negotiate with your lenders. Why fall? Credit card companies and lenders are doing year-end accounting and desperately need to clear problem accounts from their books before audits begin. This creates a narrow window where they're far more willing to cut deals than any other time of year. Done with Debt has cracked the code on this timing advantage. They know exactly which companies are most motivated to negotiate right now and use the insider knowledge to get results you can't achieve on your own. Best part, no bankruptcy, no new loans, no credit damage. In fact, most clients end up with more money in their pocket within the first month because they're no longer drowning in minimum payments. But this window won't stay open forever. Once Q4 hits, lenders tighten up again and your leverage disappears. Get started now while you still have time. Go to donewithdebt.com and talk with one of their specialists for free. Visit donewithdebt.com, donewithdebt.com. Since DailyWire launched 10 years ago, everything we've accomplished has been because of our members. Every fight we've taken on, every piece of truth we've exposed, all of it made possible by their support. Today, we're releasing Hiding in Plain Sight, a documentary so critical we're making it free for everybody on DailyWire Plus because this is a threat every parent needs to understand. Hiding in Plain Sight is a warning to all of us about the online dangers kids are trying to navigate, dangers that didn't exist when we were growing up and that many parents don't even realize are out there. We'd all like to believe that bad things could never reach our families. The truth is, digital sex trafficking and sextortion scams are happening right now in our communities and potentially inside our homes. And again, the only reason we can make this film free for everybody is because of DailyWire members. So go to dailywire.com, watch it for free, share it, sit down with your families, your school, your kids, and talk about it. And if you're not a member yet, join us, step into the fight, help us keep delivering this type of crucial content to the world. All right, before we wrap the show today, I want to read a quick comment because I did promise that we will read a comment, and so we will. This comes from the Clover Patriot, is the username, responding to our segment yesterday about the single childless millennial woman who was talking about her struggles with loneliness, and she was talking about how she needs to, because she's realized that she is nobody's priority in life. She has friends, but no one prioritizes her. She's not anyone's top priority, and she's realized that as a single childless woman. And her way of solving that problem and the loneliness that comes with it is to try to prioritize herself even more, to love herself more, prioritize herself, be her own companion through life. And I explain why that is just not a workable solution. You can't do that. You cannot fill the hole in yourself with yourself. You cannot find companionship in the mirror. It just doesn't work that way. So as a comment in response to that, to be honest, I feel that woman is hurt. I feel that woman's hurt. I've been rejected so much and relationships have never worked out. Even normal women don't want anything to do with me. So I honestly don't think I'll find love. It's so demoralizing. I'm definitely screwed, 30 years old and no family. It's over. You know, I see these kind of comments all the time, and it is frustrating and also heartbreaking to see people that feel that way, because it's not. It is so not over for you at the age of 30. You're 30 years old. And I'm sure you've heard this from older people, and you should actually listen to it when you hear it, because I'm telling you, when you're 40 and you're looking back at when you were 30, you'll wonder how you could have ever felt that it was over back then. When you're 40, you look at when you're 30, you're like, I was practically still a kid. I mean, 30, that's so young. And then when you're 50, you'll think the same about 40. You know, that's just the way life works. So it's not even close to over. And look, I understand how difficult it is. I do empathize. I really, truly do. I know people say that it's different now. It was way easier back when I was in my 20s and early 30s. And maybe it was in some ways. I mean, look, every generation has different challenges. And I think getting into the competition of who has it harder, it's like, I think it's just impossible to measure. And there's no, what do you gain? Even if we could establish that, yeah, you have it harder than anyone else has ever had it. Okay. Well, now that we've established that, you still have to live your life. And I think one of the issues when younger people have this attitude of, well, no one can relate because none of the older people had the exact same situation that I have. Well, again, that's true of every generation. But when you have that attitude, you are closing yourself off from the wisdom and guidance of people who've actually been through this. And they do have something to offer. Like they maybe they haven't been through the exact same situation, but they've been through something similar. And if they've been through it and they've come out on the other end and they are now where you want to be, then they probably have some guidance to offer. Maybe not everything they say is true, but they have some insight that's worth listening to. Because some things are also universal. And a lot of this is universal. And when I was a younger man and I was single, I can remember feeling very lonely. Also feeling like family life would just never happen. Success would never happen. I just couldn't see a path. And every successful person has this story, or most of them do. But it really is true that the key to success in life, career success, personal success, relationship success, the thing that every successful person has, every single one, is persistence, is not giving up. And I know it sounds like a very cliched motivational speech. I can hear myself saying it, and I'm cringing a bit saying it. Oh, the key is just don't give up. But it's true. I mean, it just is actually true. Most cliches are true in life. That's why they're cliches. And this one definitely is. Successful people refuse to give up. Unsuccessful people give up. That there's more to it, right? But that's the main thing. I notice it all the time. I notice it in my line of work. I encounter people all the time who just don't have persistence. They don't have ambition. Something isn't working and they just give up. They whine and they complain and they give up. They're not working every single day to improve, to get better. They're not looking and saying, okay, here's where I am. Here's where I want to be. And I will relentlessly pursue that goal. It's like they're too easily satisfied. This is very common. And it frustrates me every time I talk to somebody, as I said, even in just a professional context. And you say to them, because like, look, here's where you are, but you should not be satisfied with that. There's so much more you could achieve. Like, why are you just hanging out here on this step? You see all these steps in front of you. You just keep going. What are you doing? And I think that's what's happening with a lot of young men. And I appreciate the challenges. I really do. There's a lot you have to deal with that isn't your fault. A lot of how the culture is, how society is, a lot of it is not your fault. I mean, none of it really is your fault. You haven't been here long enough for it to be your fault. But okay, that's established. It's not fair. It isn't right. Shouldn't have been that way. Yeah, the boomers, they screwed up a lot. They certainly did. But it happened. You're in the situation you're in. Are you going to surrender to it, or are you going to forge past it? That's your choice. And that's why it kills me to see young men giving up. Young men saying it's over. I mean, what's over? You're 30. You're going to be alive for another 50 or 60 years, most likely. I mean, maybe not. You can never know for sure. Tomorrow is not guaranteed. But on average, you have to live your entire lifespan so far again. And then again, you have your entire lifespan 2 more times that you have to live. So when you say it's over, it's like it's barely started. What are you talking about? You barely even started. You just got out of high school like 12 years ago. You barely even started. So, and when I was 30, I was married, yes. I had a couple of kids by that point. But I was not successful in any other sense. I know you're talking specifically about relationships, but I'm just trying to make a point. I mean, I can remember being 32, 33. We joke about how I'd started podcasting in my car. And that's a big joke, the car podcast. But like, I was in my car. I was like 33. I was a 33-year-old man. And the real sad thing, the real sad thing is that at that point, this is actually like 13 years into my broadcasting career. I started in radio when I was 20. And if I could have looked when I was 20 years old and someone had given me a crystal ball and they had shown an image of me at 33, 13 years later in a car talking to my iPhone with an audience of about 200 people, I would have probably just given up. I would say, well, this is like, that's pathetic. I mean, you mean I'm arguably in a worse spot 13 years from now than I am now? I have a smaller audience. But even then, 32, 33, it's not over. You still have your whole life in front of you. So the point is you can't give up, especially as a young single man. You can go anywhere. You can do anything. That's the other thing it's like you're 30 years old. You have no family, no kids, no wife. I know that's the problem you want to solve, but that there is an advantage to that right now also, which is that you can do anything, because it's just you. So there's not as much on the line, and you can go try something else. You can move. When I hear from these guys who say, well, where I live, there's no good jobs. There are no good women. Well, I bet there are. I don't think you've met all the women. You probably have not tried all the jobs, but if that's true, we'll move somewhere else. You can go anywhere. Like, you literally go anywhere. There's nothing stopping you. And if it doesn't work out, it's really not the end of the world, because it's just you. So why not try it? And if you say that even the normal women aren't interested, then you got to look at yourself also. And I know that's not a popular message. I know it's not popular to say that, well, if you're having trouble with women, maybe you should look at yourself. But you should, because you got to look at the common denominator. And you're the only person you can change anyway. So you can't, even if all these women have problems, I mean, they all do, but you can't actually fix that. So you can fix yourself. You're 30 years old, no wife and kids. Are you in the gym 5 days a week? Are you in like amazing shape? Are you in the best shape of your life? Are you in incredibly good shape? Because you should be, and you could be easily. You have plenty of time. Why aren't you in the gym almost every day? Why not? That'll set you apart from the pack. That'll get you noticed. So that's what separates the successful from the unsuccessful in every area of life. It's like, do you turn back, or do you just keep going? And you might as well keep going, because you got a lot of life left to live. So on that inspiring note, as inspiring as I can possibly get, we will wrap things up, and it won't be any daily cancellation because we went a little bit long in every other area of the show. So that'll do it for the show today. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Talk to you on Monday. Have a great weekend, and happy Halloween. Godspeed.
Today on The Ben Shapiro Show, the Democratic Party continues to push radicalism, thus radicalizing part of the right in response. Zohran Mamdani gains ground with atheists and Muslims in New York City while Jews are beaten in the streets, and President Trump brokers a deal with China. Get to all of it on today's Ben Shapiro Show. Give it a listen.
The Matt Walsh Show is a Daily Wire production. Copyright Daily Wire 2025.